So I was going to go send Huron to go and talk to Miss Lich King.
Miss Lich King, is that her name?
Helps me remember where she stands. Or where we guess where we hypothesize she stands.
Yes, yeah, where you're all hypothesizing that she is. Senator Ersilia Melchor.
Indeed.
Alright.
Ersilia. I always want to spell that with a U.
Why?
Because it's Ersilia.
That's right. That makes sense. Alright, so I don't suppose Dwohurim's gonna be doing this, like, right after, like, study time. Like, it's, like, fucking midnight at the town hall, right?
No,
like...
he probably doesn't sleep, but it's good if he appears to.
Yes. Oh, so what's his feeling coming into this situation? Like, he's going to brave, like, trying to get an audience with someone alone who he suspects is not only the main villain, or not as bad as Ajax, but like a villain of this town, who is a servant of the Lich King, and who may have on multiple occasions ordered the deaths of the party.
You know, people know where he is, and he actually doesn't think that she would want to kill him.
Okay.
Pretty sure that their goals align pretty well on this particular point. You know?
Right.
She wants Ajax dead, and he does so too. And I mean, it's not like an alliance, you know? It's more like,
right.
You know, it's like if the orc is being threatened by a red dragon and you're being threatened by a red dragon, you both kind of want to kill the dragon even if you don't like each other.
Right, two, you know, possible enemies can still, like, put aside their differences to achieve a common goal.
Yeah. Besides, she doesn't know that we know, probably, that she's like a lich person.
Alright.
So, I mean, that's also good news for us. And if he can appear to be, I mean, that's the thing, right? He is fucking committed to killing Ajax. He doesn't really need a whole lot of... The others, though, are wavering, and he needs some way in which he can... They will only do it if it's easy. If it appears to be easy. So he needs some way to make it... Like, they won't go the full mile. He needs to be the one to initiate this thing and get it done.
Right. You know, he's the only one who understands the horrors of Ajax.
They haven't... They were like, oh, it's so long ago that he sent, like, those wolves to murder us all. I'm sure he's not that bad of a guy. He's just not a true druid. Even, like, the creature of the forest hate him. I mean, you know, probably not that bad a guy. I mean, they clearly don't get it. Even if Mr. Druid guy sort of will agree whenever there's discussion about it, he's still like, we shouldn't do anything. Let's just go and look at this dumb crypt.
So, what is Dwohurim gonna tell the other player characters? Or, like, what has he told the other players? Like, where are you going today, Dwohurim?
I'm not aware that anyone's asked him that.
No one has. But, you know, like, what did you do for your downtime? Or, like, the day before the trial, if someone does ask. Like, does he have an idea in his mind, or is he just gonna, like, wing it?
What did he do for his downtime? I mean, it depends on how this goes. To be honest.
And we never saw him again. Alright.
Because, like, you know, if it goes really well, then he might be able to say, yeah, I got and solved all the fucking problems, assholes. And if it goes really bad, I'm like, I read books. You know. Books.
I got all these books, yeah. I drank some rare dwarven brandy. Pretty awesome.
I needed to relax. Let's get out of this fucking town.
Is there anyone in the town with profession masseuse? Anyone?
I need to leave, guys. You don't get it. It's like, why? No. I could never tell you, but we need to.
Wait, I thought you wanted to, like, revenge yourself against Ajax.
Yeah, no, he's fucked. Let's leave.
Okay.
Yeah. I hope it's the first one of the two.
Yes. Dwohurim Harsca sets out in the morning, I presume, with the sunlight on his side. He hopes.
Sure.
and ventures through the bracing wind to visit Melchor Estate.
With grim determination.
Yes. He's got his raven on his shoulder.
Hmm.
Ready to go. Still carries around his walking stick, I presume, even though he's got the Crimson Wand.
Hmm.
Alright.
I mean, it is as much for fashion as for use, but
Absolutely.
a wizard needs a walking stick.
It's a fashion statement. That's how Gandalf gets in and, like, banishes the darkness from
But
fandom.
I need to have my walking stick, and then then they let you in, and you can hit people in the head with it
Yes.
if you ever needed to.
Absolutely. Not that Dwohurim did.
No.
Alright.
Not yet.
Dwohurim manages without incident to make it to Melchor Estate, which is about as he left it and about as it always sits there. You know, the gleaming off-white walls of the 3-story building, which is on a large hill, so it's like a monument of the town, really, and understandable given how it is the oldest building and was built before the town of Foghaven ever existed.
Speak the best spot.
Yes, of course she did. She would.
She
Fucking
did.
nobles. There's 2 guards who are sitting on the patio. Don't appear to be armored. They're playing cards. Neither of whom Dwohurim particularly recognizes. They both look up as you approach and say, "Oh there! What business do you have at Melchor Estate?"
I would like to have a meeting with Ersilia, please.
They, both of them set their cards down and look at each other, then back at you. Ersilia, you say? Well, the matron, They look at each other. You're sure? Not Bree Melchor?
Sort of frowns as... I don't believe I misspoke.
No, sir. I don't suppose you have.
Why wouldn't I want to meet with Ersilia?
It's just
Is she taken by tasks this day?
Well, all of the senators have been busy given the recent troubles, but I tell you what, one of the guards pulls out like a little sheet of parchment from a pocket and unfurls it. Is your name by chance Thomas Tunnell? Or Fargus? Or Leon? Or Tempest Maliator? Or Dwohurim Horse?
Yes, that's me.
He folds up the sheet of paper and says, Well, seems you're in luck. The senator is in, and by all accounts she has given anyone with those names allowance to at least enter the manor. I'll have to ask you to... And then he, looks at you. Whatever, just follow me.
Looks back. Yeah. Follows.
The guard will open the door. He'll stand in the foyer, and he'll actually hail down one of the house servants and ask where Senator Ersilia is, so that the house servant may take you to where she is located. It's on the 3rd floor, so Dwohurim is led up some staircases and down some opulent hallways, as these noble houses tend to be, and you are led into a large study area, which is reminiscent of Horizon, given its massive stacks of bookcases with numerous faded books, spanning back not just across the centuries, but across the ages as well. They're a treatise on how the Archmage of the 10th Age handled a particular problem with the High Druid. They're how the evolution of clerical magic has flowed throughout the past 4 centuries. And sitting at a desk, staring out the window, is the rather patrician face and features of Senator Ersilia, who turns her head and says, You may enter. Have a seat, please.
We'll enter, sort of looking at the books. Very interested. You spent a lot of time here, if possible at some point. Go and sit down. So, I must say that I admire your study.
Yes, I have had the fortune of quite a bit of time and dedication to do such. I could not have gotten it all done without my decades of life. But then that is my own doing. Speaking of doing, why have you come here, Dwohurim Harsca?
She says, still with her back to you, looking out the window.
So Logan says, well, I believe you're the one person in this city who needs my help and who can help me to deal with a common problem.
She slowly swivels the chair to level a cold, piercing gaze at Dwohurim.
I need your help. Do go on.
Well, in the forest we have Ajax currently hiding, waiting for this city to starve. Something that I imagine you are not interested in. Dealing with him, however, can be problematic, as he doesn't want to leave his forest realm, and we have no... She looks around, says, at least I have no easy way of getting him out of there.
I don't know almost anything about this Ajax. He is a newcomer to this section of the Wild Wood. You seem to have some familiarity with him, Dwohurim Harsca. Why don't you tell me about him?
Well, just very well then. To be honest, I have known him for, I suppose, a year and a half, 2 years. Thinks back a little bit, but stops. Regardless, he's a beast. He will do anything to get what he wants, and he is very controlled by pride and fury. And I happen to be the only, as far as I know, living person who has wounded his pride.
And how, Dwohurim Harsca, would you have wounded such a powerful entity's pride?
By living. I was part of a community, a colony, if you will, a small settlement inside of the woods. He came and demanded, first with words and then with death, that we leave or act as he command. I refused with the others, and I am still here to tell the tale. I am proof that he could not enforce his will upon me. Even if I did leave, he promised me that he would kill me.
Promised you that he would kill you? Is that why you have come so far then to Fog Haven?
As a matter of fact, I came first. He followed, it seems.
Oh? You have been in Fog Haven for some time then. My impression was that you were a recent arrival.
She said, I simply do not know how long this Ajax has been here. However, I know that when I arrived, I did not know that he would be here. It seems, however, that fate has refused to part our paths, and that I, for better or worse, might be forced to deal with him.
The name Ajax has been on the tongues of those in the know and those who have not for the entirety of Patchwall and a bit in the month before. There is suspect that among so many other things, Ajax somehow, Dwohurim Harsca, is personally responsible for the early arrival of winter. Snows in this area at such a time are almost unheard of. Do you think he's that powerful, Dwohurim Harsca?
I'm thinks for a moment. When I encountered him, he did something that is particular, perhaps for druids in general, but I do not know that much about them, to be honest. He never fought personally. Whenever we saw him personally, he was an old man. He fought in the guise of possessed things, trees, animals, that sort of thing, or by using the elements against us. I do not think, if he had the personal prowess to stand well in a fight, he would not need to resort to these tactics. I believe he has a great mastery over the forest, but I do not think that he would be so great without it. Which is likely why he seems to never want to leave it.
I know that one of your companions is a druid. I can smell it on him. What, pray tell, does he think about this situation? Have you pitched any of your questions or observations to him?
Nods. I have. Quite a few times. I was very suspicious at first. He comes, however, from the north, and has on multiple occasions declared that Ajax is a false druid who deserves to be, well, that the forest deserves to be cleansed of him. I do not know whether this is arrogance or some sort of druidic knowledge, however. Little does it matter.
Indeed, it would be arrogance. No druid of such prominence as to have his name known with such regularity outside the wild wood would be able to function as he appears to do without the approval, if not support, of the High Druid herself. The wildwood is hers, and since she came into power, she has been very aggressive and very demanding of the Empire, much to the consternation and difficulty of many. Ajax, although I do not know of the exact power structure or politics in the woods, could very well be but an extension of her will.
Well, I suppose it's good that I didn't bring the others, then.
Yes, I had hoped that the messy business could have been resolved, if it were indeed truthful at all, with the whole mob uprising and the bringing of blood to the wood. But if this Ajax is as you say, then part of what might consume him is the fact that he knows you're here in Foghaven. Is that not so, Dwohurim Harsca?
Not likely. Says yes. It certainly did not de-escalate the situation. I think, however, also that once he has made a threat, he will not step down from it. Might be too late for a peaceful resolution to this, unless finding some other food source that is, well, outside the power of the druids to manipulate. This is an option.
We have capabilities of importing food from other realms. The bandits do not control the seas, although they have been quite a thorn.
Yes, we have been looking into that, as a matter of fact.
Have you now? Well, Dwohurim Harsca, that aside, from your very own depictions, Ajax is a very prideful and vengeful being. So, would it not spare my beloved town of Foghaven if I were to recommend to the Senate that we capture you and offer you as a gift of appeasement?
I sort of need to think for a moment. He says, perhaps this time, yes, it would. However, there's more to this than just appeasement, is there not? I tried to tell the mob, but they seemed unable to understand my words, as I maybe spoke a bit too highly for the most of them. However, if we give in to the druid now, Then when he comes back in the future, more determined and more powerful from what we have given him, at what point will it end? At what point will we draw the line? How many people will be needed to be given over to appease him?
So you would argue for your life and freedom now because you are the best source this town has for knowledge on this Ajax, and that Ajax would not cease long-term even if you were to be given to him.
It would simply mean one more victory. He did not stop when he defeated those in the forest. It doesn't surprise anyone that he has now come to attack those who are without outside of it. We once lived inside the forest borders. We were happy, lived good lives. He came, destroyed it, won. And now he has come here to challenge an even greater community, outside his borders. Did he really think that the populations of this city, that the mob would be able to bring him a just trial and bring him a murderer? Of course he didn't. He simply knew that it would whip them into a frenzy and that it would help destabilize the area.
You make bold, sweeping statements, Dwohurim Harsca. However, you are unmired by the consequences of politics, of town management, of shepherding thousands of people to the best possible outcome. Why should I endeavor to throw any support behind you, or recommend to the other senators to do that? Why should we not attempt to broker peace, as much as is possible, with the prideful, vengeful, and, quite frankly, irrational druids of the Wildwood, to continue our peaceful lives as they were intended when this township was first created?
He sort of looks at her very inquisitively.
The face is remarkable in that it's almost as if she wears a mask, and that unlike pretty much everyone else that Dwohurim has interacted with, she does not have any body language, whether it's nervous tics or pulses at the neck or wringing of hands or anything to give away position, either as something that she really wants or something that she doesn't want at all. Indeed, the more Dwohurim stares, it's almost as if he can see the powerful effect of magic, like radiating from her entire body, as if it sort of blurs her, creating this illusory effect of not being able to get a clear look at her at all.
So, Moxon, I must say, talking to you directly, in a room where I can focus, I do admire your abilities.
She offers a polite smile and says, I have been at work, for what I do, for over 200 years. They are the capabilities of any person who has the willpower, the dedication, the ability, and the skill to persevere as I have. Traits which I see in smaller quantities, but no less relevant in you, Dwohurim Harsca.
Sort of looks a bit surprised, and then nods and says, that is good to hear, I suppose.
However, you
Then,
have not addressed my concern.
Then I must digress. If you believe that peace is possible, then is there any way in which I can help to establish such?
Other than by us taking you, Dwohurim Harsca, to the Wildwood and Offering you up in an exchange of sorts?
Yes.
The senators are firmly convinced that the matter, as bloody as it has been resolved. The Wildwood is no longer a threat. The mob found its murderous scapegoat and delivered it as the old man of the forest desired, and whether or not he might have been the actual murderer, or his boy, or whatever the mob says, that appeasement of flesh would have been enough for the time being. That being said, the High Druid has been rather aggressive, and I have heard a number of stories and rumors from others of my level about what she intends, and really, the Druidess is chafing at the bit of all of the order and impositions the Empire has placed upon nature, of how her rivers have been flooded with the monsters that were forced out of the Midland Sea ages ago. And she does have considerable power and credit on her side. She is the one who holds back the legions of monsters in the East. She has quite a bit of credibility, and if she were able to make a stand, a public one, in some fashion, perhaps through one of her agents, then this matter could become dire. Is peace possible? Limitedly so, I think, Dwohurim Harsca. However, I think her presence will result in a hostile confrontation at some point.
This is, as I said, perhaps possible for a time. Seems like we agree on this, then.
Unfortunately, so. So, with that commonality established, what are you hoping to persuade me, or perhaps the entire Senate, to achieve?
It is, in all honesty, my lady, it is mostly you that I think would be capable of, well, sort of looks around the room, lending me what I require.
Oh?
Getting Ajax out of the forest would make him vulnerable. That is one way we can defeat him. Another one would be to enter the forest with enough strength to remove him from his position without him knowing that we have that strength.
There is not enough strength in Foghaven to achieve such an objective if what you say about Ajax's power is true.
Then it must be the first, then.
Have you considered offering yourself as the possibility of bait if Ajax truly cares about you and is offended by your continued existence? Then he might forgo any logic he has for a true chance at ending your life.
Sure not, Lenses. That was exactly what I was going to suggest.
On that note, have you considered leaving a survivor in your wake of carnage and destruction who could actually spread the news to Ajax?
Yes, we would have to find someone who would bring it to him.
You would have to go looking, I imagine, in the forest, the wooded areas. Might be able to find something, a pixie or perhaps an awakened tree, something of that nature.
Not. Yes, perhaps. The question is then, when he does come out, will we be able to defeat him in his fury?
Well, perhaps you might be familiar with the realization that fury breeds incompetence, for in such a highly emotional and disturbed state, one cannot think clearly. For a wizard of your caliber, or mine, to be pressed into such a dramatic state, our control over our powers would be less focused, and our results would be less than our intentions.
And so that is why I came to you. In honesty.
Yeah.
I am not sure that I would, even if he was out of the forest, have the power at the moment that is necessary to defeat him. And I would not want to drag him out if I could not finish the work I have started. His fury, if not stopped with brute force, would likely rage on, and his rush of victory would, as it has before, likely edge him on even further.
And you are here on your own, without your traveling companions, because you fear, or you know, that they do not feel as you do.
Instead of slightly, in some ways, yes.
So, your hunt for the bandits, then, and your business in my crypt, has been a means of engendering goodwill, so that you might leverage it against this Ajax, for whom you have some cause to campaign against.
Fertilizers. In honesty, when I came here, it was simply to acquire some bit of coin, with which I could begin anew further along in Newport. However, when the town was threatened by Ajax, I could not look the other way. I knew what he would do if had he had the chance, and so, as I realized that he would never stop. I've seen him win once. He is not a good winner. And I could not let this happen again, in a different place. I could not simply walk away. It seems almost like I've been given a second chance to confront him.
And what will you do then, if say you do kill Ajax, and the resulting fallout makes it so that the High Druid is pushed to the brink, and your actions are the ones which create the war that I fear? What would you do then, Dwohurim Harsca?
He sort of frowns. Fight, I suppose. It is not a good thing, a war. But it seems that the druids are not. He looks down and says, I don't. It seems a dangerous precedent to allow them to do what they will simply because they threaten us with escalation of conflict.
In that case, Dwohurim Harsca, are you willing to risk a hostile confrontation between the Empire and nature so that you may kill Ajax?
He frowns, sort of looking at her. He says, what do you know about this possibility?
I know what I have suggested, that the High Druid may be supporting Ajax, that he may be operating at her behest, and truly the cause of these bandits wielding druidic magic and items seems to suggest that Ajax, and by extension the Druid, have quite a bit of sway. It is no wonder the bandits have been so adamant and determined to ruin the civilization of Foghaven, if indeed they have been receiving such support, for that is what they have done to my town. It is concerning that Ajax has moved into such a position as he did, and it is more concerning to know somewhat the power structure that exists in the Wild Wood. I do not think any druid, as powerful as you say, could operate openly as he is without the support of his peers, if not the approval.
I hate to agree, but you do speak sense.
As such, as the speaker of the lives of thousands of people in just this town, if I am to risk anything, I want to know what you, Dwohurim Harsca, are willing to risk.
Sort of seems to think rather deeply.
She leans back in her chair, still staring at you, watching you with her piercing gaze, and affords you your time.
Sort of looks around, trying to see if he can find something to hold on to, something that would suggest him some sort of direction as he considers.
Well, perhaps it is a question that might be solved with a bit of walk. Why don't you come walking with me, Dwohurim Harsca? I'll take you around the estate.
He looks to her, nods, says, "Thank you. That would be good."
Ersilia rises from her desk and begins leading Dwohurim through the estate. It is very clear that she knows precisely where she's going as she heads down to the second floor, and then to the first, and then to the basement. There is no need to hide it, Dwohurim Harsca. I can tell by the smell of my reagents on you. I know where you've been, but I knew where you had been the moment I saw you in my house.
He looks up and sort of nods, says, "We have been in the crypt, yes."
Yes. It is not a well-kept secret that I am a necromancer. I have been pursuing, for much of the latter half of my life, a means by which to prolong my life without resorting to the illicity of lichdom. It has been banned in the Empire, and for good reason. Necromancy, however, has not. I can confirm that for certainty in Foghaven. I'm responsible for the law.
Well, I had guessed as much.
Yes, I'm sure you had. Now, my concerns regarding your group's invasion of my home was to destabilize my research, which you most certainly had done. But I know that Bree did it with good intentions, and I know that you acted as well with good intentions, particularly the druidic fellow. I can see that he is a hunter of undead, and I can tell by judging looks that I've seen for so much of my life what the attitude towards that is.
This is one of the reasons I did not bring them.
Part of my feared reputation in Foghaven is all of those rumors, but I have lived here for long enough and done enough good things that the people nevertheless respect me. She reaches the crypt doors, which have no longer have their arcane sigils on them that Bree had put up to protect, and she flings them open and says, "However, in your pilfering, just a bit though, you've actually left behind the item that would benefit you most in your task."
So, as we were told to touch none of the tombs, and we didn't.
Oh, it's not in one of the tombs. It's right next to all of my reagents. She leads you all the way back into the room that was full of desks, which have been refurbished with other books, as the prior ones had been burned. And she actually walks up close to the pool. There's no undead or any other activity down the crypt. The pool with its shimmering red liquid, and says, "I had thought that a wizard of your caliber would have been able to sense the potency of this substance. It is a drink, one that my research bears fruit on. As you can see, it has no necrotic energy or presence, and it is not necrotic in nature. Believe me, all necromancers steal their power from the Lich King. That does not mean all necromancers serve the power they steal." My time is limited, Dwohurim Harsca. One day, I will no longer be able to protect these people, to watch over my family as I have for all of these years. I attempt to prolong what I can do so that I may better serve whom I adore. And I know that one day, all of it will be meaningless, because I will be forgotten, like all of the others, the archmages and the emperors and the high druids of the ages past.
He looks at the sort of drink.
What we have, Dwohurim Harsca, is now. What we have is Ajax, who hunts you, who hunts civilization. What we have is a dwarf wizard determined to put an end to this Ajax by any means necessary. What we have here is an opportunity to stop the starvation and the torment of several thousand citizens of a once peaceful town.
Nod slowly.
She will reach over for one of her desks and draw a tankard through the fountain, and perhaps in a demonstration,
because she looks at you and smiles and says, "Yes, I know how trustworthy I seem," and she'll take a drink of it herself. See? Not poisoned. And before handing the tankard to Dwohurim.
So look at her and say, "What is it?"
It is a watery liquid I created to enhance the potency of me, as well as to ensure that I would endure the years and decades of my life. There have been many who have opposed me, others still who have dared to try to assassinate me, and I stand strong by my ability and by my skill, sure, by the privilege into which I was born, yes, but also by will, by my desire to endure. Dwohurim Harsca, it sounds that you have that same desire to endure whatever challenges this world throws at you.
Sort of begins to feel maybe a bit of dwarven bravery, really, as yes, it is true. But what she's saying, I'll sort of look at her again and says, "And you share this with me?"
I do. It is not a permanent effect. It is one that will last for a length of time. I cannot say for certain. It affects bodies in different ways. I have offered it to others in my lifetime, and they all share with me a unique experience in how it has helped them. Part of why I offer it to you is that I am curious in how my creation will assist you, Dwohurim Harsca. And in essence, you are repaying me for the research that your group destroyed within my crypt.
Says, "I never was one for burning books myself."
I did not imagine, but the passions of the ignorant are fueled by a fear primarily consisting of mortality. The mob you attempted to stop in the town square, they're afraid. They're afraid because they're powerless. They do not have the willpower, the drive, the ability, the skill to make a difference. The world is composed of so many powerless, but you, Dwohurim Harsca, have a true chance in shaping the 13th age as you see fit, through your ability, through your skill, and through your will.
Raises his cup to that, and then he drinks it.
Okay. The effects of it, at least the initial ones, are quick to flow through Dwohurim's body. There have been so many aches and pains over the past weeks that Dwohurim has felt in his bones.
Oh, yeah.
So much pain from all of the arrows, from the assaults, and his nerves. He can feel that, almost as if it's a healing balm, soothe away from his muscles, leaving his mind with clarity and acuity. And as he's finishing the tankard, and it's important to note that the effect does not take place unless the entire liquid is consumed, there is a sharp, acute pain which spreads out along his spinal cord and blossoms into his mind, lasting long enough to make Dwohurim at least the idea pops unbidden into his mind that Ersilia has poisoned him. But the pain does subside, and whenever it does, the heightened pain has brought with it a greater sense of knowing, a greater sense of belonging. Problems which seemed so difficult to solve, enigmas, things that he could not realize, they have become fathomable. They've spread out along the neural pathways of his mind. Situations that he had never considered are now not only considered, but reconsidered. plans so detailed and nuanced form freely within his head. For this entire level, Dwohurim Harsca has gained a +2 bonus to his intelligence, as he feels a greater sense of closeness and belonging with his magic, and a greater determination that he can conquer whatever is put in his way.
He'll sort of drink it, opening his eyes after closing them due to the intense pain. Unclenching his fists, probably standing up. He's probably kneeled down position, clenching his head. She then sort of looks up, sort of glaring with his eyes, almost as if seeing again. For the first time. She looks around.
You find Ersilia actually kneeling down, perhaps so that she can get a better look at your face and your body, studying you with incredible attention.
He will sort of look at her. Sort of his eyes probably meeting her with sort of new understanding. She slowly sort of veers around, looking around the room, trying to gather all the new things that make sense to him that didn't before.
Yes, Dwohurim Harsca. Yes.
So rise up. Begin to breathe normally again. As it seems that I will need to rethink a few things.
Ersilia stands up as well. The truth of the matter is, Dwohurim Harsca, that the tools you need to defeat Ajax and save Foghaven, as well as yourself, have always been inside of you. All you needed was me to help show you your path.
Nods and sort of looks at her and says, and so, it seems that the decision has been made.
I expect great things of you. It is that expectation which calls me to listen to your words after seeing you for the first time, and why I suggested to the rest of the Senate that the arrest warrants be revoked. Now, I am curious, Dwohurim Harsca. I will save an explanation from you on how this changed you for a later date, but I am curious as to how your group will react in the coming days, or rather tomorrow, when the trial of Carmina Milla Cabot is held. And please, don't lie to me.
He nods and says, I, in honesty, do not think that they would want to see her condemned, for it is obvious that she did not do what she is on trial for.
What evidence have you found which would suggest the innocence of Carmilla Cabot?
Beyond our own assurity, as we were present when the mob was instigated.
Yes, but you as witnesses would do no more than perhaps refute the witnesses Salvatore has found, and given the fact that you are outsiders, not to mention formally wanted for complicity in this act, your testimony would not serve.
Ron says, well, from the bandits we have spoken to, it seems that Salvador himself could be complicit in some of these acts, that he could have been watching out for the bandit activity.
I see. It is good that you did not lie to me, Dwohurim Harsca. I received a concerned report from a fellow senator, Cameron Wilder, shortly after your group visited him. I told him to consider the evidence as best he could, and to make his judgments, whatever they might be, at our trial tomorrow.
Nods. As you understand, the others do not. After seeing what was in the crypt, they do not trust you.
I imagine not. The Melchor name has been associated with many things, Dwohurim Harsca. Necromancy, in comparison, might be one of the lighter ones. She offers a thin smile at you.
Jim returns it. With this feeling, certainly, he's feeling quite upbeat at the moment.
Now, Dwohurim Harsca, I have much to attend to. Is there anything else you wish to discuss with me? I will give you this allowance.
A single question, then, to not take too much of your time. I noticed in your image gallery an image that was the stunning replication of one of my traveling companions.
She lifts a brow. Is that your question?
The question is, it seems that this could not be accidental. However, the picture seems very, very old. Does he have a connection to the family?
The companion you travel with, Leon, and my beloved lion, as depicted in that portrait, and her expression actually changes enough to let a bit of a wistful, nostalgic look through. They are not the same person, Dwohurim Harsca. You are not traveling with an undead replica of my long-lost beloved.
Well, it was simply a curiosity that I could not forego the chance to inquire about.
Understandably so. Perhaps your companion will be brave enough to visit me himself before you decide to leave Foghaven. Assuming that you still plan on traveling together. Is there 4 or 5 of you? I'm never sure.
She said, it depends on... I don't really know what. One of my companions, he's not really what he seems. Sometimes he disappears for extended periods of time. Mostly whenever he's most needed, it seems.
A curiosity indeed. Brave to accept such a companion, unreliable in nature, into your fold, perhaps at arm's length.
I'm beginning to suspect that cowardice is the reason for his disappearances, but it requires more data gathering. He certainly has been effective in some scenarios.
Perhaps you shall learn the answers you seek in the coming days.
Nods. Says, no, I shall take no more of your time, for now at least. I shall see what I can do about Ajax.
Senator...
Fortune be with me, I should be able to talk the others into aiding me as well.
Senator Ersilia will lead you to the front door and bid you a polite farewell, much to the stunned onlooking of not just the guards outside, but the house servants.
Mm-hmm. Sure. He will bow to her, and then he will take his leave, leaving her to do whatever she needs with her time, feeling invigorated and empowered, really more than anything.
Okay. What's going through Dwohurim's mind?
Relief. Certainly one thing. Another one is righteousness. Self-righteousness, perhaps even. He feels that he was right in what he did, and that he indeed has to defeat Ajax.
All right.
It seems that's the only real solution to the problems at hand. Beyond that, he's not so sure about the initial conclusion that she's working for the Lich King. Although the link to the bandits is still odd, and at some point, dropping that crystal might actually be necessary just to see who shows up. He doesn't believe he's actually heard the bandits ever say Melchor.
No.
Dwohurim
would certainly recall that with his heightened intellect. Rav never said Ersilia Melchor, just said her.
Which could be... Yes. Perhaps this is more layered than he thought. Perhaps it's not so simple.
All right. Well, that's how Dwohurim thinks. How do you feel?
That was interesting. Good post. Perhaps the question of the current sort of time. You can say that in such a way.
I was amused that was the one question Dwohurim chose to ask whenever you posited one question, please.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of out there. You know? That's oddly weird. Alright. Fuck it. And, it seemed like she was done talking. It's good not to overstay your welcome with, like... You certainly learned that from the wizards back home, that when they say that, yes, I have just a minute, that means that they have, like, 30 seconds.
Right.
So... And, she is certainly powerful and a good person to be allied with, he feels. And in addition to that, well, she really seemed a lot more resistant to him, but he thinks that perhaps that was just a trick, Then again, would she really need tricks? Yeah, she's hard to know, which I suppose, as a player, as a character, is kind of what she's aiming for. Yeah.
But yes, mechanically, +2 intelligence until your next level up.
Yeah, that certainly is a good thing. It's a very nice potion. Should have taken some of that.
Yes, it's a benefit that you could have acquired had you scooped up some of the liquid and actually tested it out by drinking it.
But that seemed like a really dumb idea.
Just drinking mysterious liquids is what people do in dungeon crawlers and roguelikes.
It always turns out so well. in those roguelikes. Yeah.
Not all of the potions are dangerous.
But it's like, oh, you drank the ultimate healing legendary healing potion, but you're at full health. And you're like, fuck.
Well, at least you know, so that the rest of the uses of the ultimate legendary healing potion that you find...
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why people always hoard onto those potions until, like, a last resort, right?
Yeah, and they're like, but I... And then at that point you're like, but I got this far without needing them, damn it.
Yeah, and then you die without ever having drunk them, and then they're identified, and you're like, shit!
Fuck me.
That could have saved me!
Could drink that dumb shit. Yeah. Roguelikes. Yeah. You know, whenever I talk to someone with Hurim, there's always like the faint, like, in the back of my mind, like, what if I just, like, empowered lightning bolt right now? Like when I talk to like the senators and like party members and everybody, it's like kind of crazy.
It's a great thought.
Like, yeah.
So now you must imagine like how all like the really powerful wizards like feel when they're talking to people. What if I just like empowered?
What if I like incinerate this fucker right here, right now? It would take like a second of my thought, and he'd be dead. I could do that. Like I could kill all of them. You know, like when they go out on their like balcony and look out from the tower, smiling at the sunlight and the birds. Like, I could grill these fucking birds right now. And then he's like, "Oh, silly me."
It's such a powerful temptation as a wizard.
It's like having that big red button that would nuke the world, and you're like, oh, I kind of want to click it just to.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the biggest impact I would ever have, right?
Right. If I could take down, like, one of these characters...
Just think what would happen, yeah. But then again, like, it's just a thought, and it passes.
Right. You wouldn't have an undo button. You just want to do it without any of the consequences of doing it.
Do you want to try and then load?
I can totally understand that sentiment. Like, when to try something, load the game. Like, alright, that was cool, but let's load.
Oh, I used to play Icewind Dale. I would take my characters, I would only leave an area when I was powerful enough to kill, like, that magic guardian that comes when you attack random civilians. Just because I wanted to be able to, you know?
Right. That was fun.
Yeah. I liked it, certainly. Very, very interesting character.
So, I know you're a person who's big into expectations and surprise thereof, and I have some idea of what you expected coming into this. Like, how did that change coming out of this?
Well, I know less than when I get in, I would say. Or at least I think I know less than I thought that I knew.
Well, the extra intelligence confirms that, right? I knew less than what I... Well,
Quite mechanically as well.
Yes.
I guess that's what I should phrase it as. I visited her, and now I know mechanically more. What do you mean? Just more.
What?
About everything. Yeah. Yeah. A heightened level of knowledge and everything. Yeah, I mean, now suddenly she's not one of the bad guys. There's someone else.
At least for Dwohurim Harsca, which, you know, as you were playing it, your character's priority was that fucking asshole druid from your past anyway, rather than the undead, so...
Yeah. Who could it be? Man, we gotta talk to that fucker again.
Which fucker?
The dumb rogue, Revinger. Suddenly, I have so many things to ask him.
I don't suppose you'd be up for a third audience, Rav, would you?
I mean, he kind of said he would.
Well, I'm sure Bandit Lords have said many things.
Like, Rev, I seriously have some questions here. Like, it is Melchor you're serving. He's like, what? No!
I just wanted you to kill her!
what kind of? We're like, oh, well, huh. Hmm. So, and he's like, it's the damn undead druid lady, Ajax's old apprentice. We're like, fuck her. She did all this. Well, that's good, because now we have a person whom we can hate and kill, who's both a druid and an undead, like the best solution.
Wait, didn't you say you killed her? I did! This is what happened.
That's the fucking problem.
She's kind of pissed about that.
Yeah. Now I serve her, took a shit. She wasn't happy with that. Now she wants to kill the world. I mean...
It is so hard being a bandit these days.
And you kill a single lone woman on the road, and then suddenly the world's going to shit. Fuck, I didn't know it would go here.
Just trying to make a living.
Yeah, jeez. At least I'm being, like, super reasonable about everything compared to all the other assholes.
Right. Like, my danger is small in scope. Hers, so much bigger. It's way overblown.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything's pointing to her, though, except for her.
Well.
Everything we have. Like, it seems so obvious, but that's also the thing that makes it unlikely. Some way. It's almost too obvious, right?
Well, what do you have to suggest that she is the ultimate villain? Like, there's been a lot of rumors, not rumors, but like theories thrown out by the entire party. What do you as Manikai have to say that she is the worst person here?
Well, we know that she had a letter, tried to kill one of us.
You know that there was a letter with the emblem of House Melchor on it?
Ever since talking to her the first time, I've always had the feeling that it's Bree who did all this. I just can't shake it off, and now you just reinforced it. Because it seems, if I was her, that's the kind of shit I would be doing. You know, imagine her situation.
Okay.
As I have sort of said this to myself before, which would be that you are like this lady in this house, and you're like a noble and shit, but there's this old grandmother who just will not die, and she won't get out of your fucking way ever. Do all this dumb bullshit.
Right.
So what can you do possibly to, like, you want to goddamn succeed in the world, not just be another random nobody.
Right, you're like acting like head of the household, sure, and
Yeah.
you like show
She
up
just
for like the
overrules you all the
senatorial
time.
meetings.
Nobody respects you. But that's because they don't know, though. And you planned all this evidence and, like, blame your own family. I mean, it's basically the same thing as now we're just finished playing another session of the Song of Ice and Fire stuff, and that's basically the kind of shit that goes on there.
So maybe that's why you have this in mind right now.
Maybe it is, like, double crossing and blaming others for what you did, and, like, triple layered things. Yeah.
But how many turns and nuances would I really put inside a game? Oh wait, you've never had me as a GM before.
No.
Well, I mean, you've seen me in action with All Flesh Must Be Eaten.
You would make one of those tentacle brain things a main villain, so a lot of layers, I would say.
But I don't want to do swerve after swerve, Manikai. It gets tiresome.
Yeah, but it's always been this. It's just us drawing the wrong conclusions. We're falling under the sway of... Now I'm being like a conspiracy theorist.
Right.
Let me find my tinfoil hat.
It's like, what if you just interpret the evidence that you, or like facts that you think you've acquired differently? What is, and then you know as a GM, what is the biggest problem that players can have? It's the players drawing the wrong conclusions. That's the biggest shit that the players can get into. Wrong conclusions.
As a scientist, I must examine things from all angles.
Do you
Free
have your
of bias,
tinfoil
which I
hat
cannot
yet?
have because my character is very biased.
You've certainly chosen to play an impassioned character.
Mhm.
Whose passion was called up to the forefront.
I never much like playing like the monk character who it's like I have no emotion. I am
Right. How do you get
untouchable.
invested in a situation then as a character?
Like, but he's not invested. How could I be?
Right.
It's like I will just sit here and meditate about everything. I am a castle. The world outside does not matter to me.
Alright, so you didn't answer, like, the idea or question beyond, like, the note for why you think Ersilia is the grand
Yes.
villain. So you have the note.
The next one, of course, if she is like an undead person, then she would have the most to gain from a war. And that's really like that's how like the main point, right? Simply, she would be the one to gain everything, if she is an undead person. We know she studies undead. But she's a necromancer. I mean, it's kind of that's kind of damning.
On the flip side, there are necromancers, over the world who are in the official employ of the Elf Queen, the Dwarf King, even the Emperor.
Does the High Druid have necromancers?
No. High Druid and
I
Lich
thought
King are
not.
pretty at odds.
Yeah. Priestess probably doesn't either.
Well, there is certainly the study of undeath. I can't confirm, like, off the top of my head from, like, the book lore whether there's, like, any necromancers for the priestess. I think...
You make the law of this world.
I do believe there can be... I do believe this in the necromancer section, though. Yeah, like, there can be people who have a positive relationship with the icon who are necromancers, and they'll just have, like, all of their spells flavored and themed differently.
Yeah.
But it's out of the norm.
Yeah. Sure. So, I mean that's really a kind of damning thing. Then there's the whole bandits. They work for someone who's female and very powerful. We know like one very powerful female, except if we count like the dragon that we've barely heard about.
And that's assuming that you can trust anything that any NPC says, and to the credit of the player characters, they've not really attempted any sort of, like, insight to try to deduce whether someone's lying.
I'm terrible at it, generally.
Say, no sense motive type things have been
We don't
tried
really have
at
a guy
all.
who's like I guess Sheep could be like, I've interrogated tons of people in my time.
Yeah.
He never wants to do anything like that.
Yeah, he could be the
His
sense
character doesn't like talking.
Yeah, that would be an outlet for him. Maybe not even to be the talker, but to be the person who attempts to see whether, like, almost like the interrogator type person, but
Yeah,
not
exactly.
even interrogating, just
Just watching as we talk.
yes, watching the body language, how the hands interact, whether there's like a pulse at the neck, twitches of the mouth. But yes, but since no one has attempted to like discern like whether anyone's been truthful or not, I will say this as a GM. I could be fucking telling you any goddamn thing.
Yeah.
With the players not even challenging any of it.
Yeah. Is there a way to find out what that crystal is attuned to without breaking it?
You're pretty confirmed that the only
I would
way.
never ever accept the call if I did it. And then I would get absolutely nothing from doing it, except alerting them that I had it, I suppose.
If what Rav said is true, now you could have had, and Rav even offered to like take the crystal. You could have had Rav attempt to break it in front of you.
Yeah, I don't think he would have. I don't trust him that much to give him stuff and then let him use it.
Turns out that I divined incorrectly. This is like a magic item created by Barrick to fuck me over.
Yeah. Then again, her not being a lich makes me feel better about. Well, her not saying she's not a lich makes me feel better about hurting Ajax. So that's good, really. You know, that helps.
Then again, being a lich is illegal within the Empire.
Yeah. As if I was gonna arrest her right then and there.
How about I just attack you with my evocation spell, and if you die in front of me, then I know you're not a lich. And that means I've just... Can I load the game with this knowledge?
The others don't know about this happened.
And this shades all of my interactions with her.
Yeah.
God, I think she's a lich. Guys, she's not a lich. Well, how do you know? I just know. She's not a lich. I saw it in a dream once.
Doesn't work. Yeah. Big Stack fella came and told me. I mean, you talked to Big Stack, came and told me that she's not a lich.
Who? I've never seen her.
You wouldn't talk to Big Stack fella. Like, oh, but I did.
Yep. Totally did.
I asked him, he says you didn't. Well, maybe it was a different Big Stack fella then. But he said that she was not a lich.
Well, maybe you were talking to Ajax then, and he was impersonating the Great Stag.
Fucker. I did think we could have Fargus, like, or even Dwohurim using a disguised self play the role of the old man of the forest.
Certainly something that you could attempt to do.
But I don't know why I would. Not like the peasant's opinion really matters super much in this whole thing.
No, that and...
What are they really gonna do? Like...
That and the old man of the forest, as far as many rumors are concerned, takes the guise of animals and speaks through them.
I couldn't do that.
Humanoid.
Weirdly is that the old man probably is like murdered by Ajax in response to him losing those artifacts. At least that's what it sounded like. The pixies.
If you can trust the pixies.
Yeah. I think they're too stupid to lie about that. Fuckers. One positive thing is that they were afraid we would kill him, though. Which means that there's a chance. At least that's how Hiram understood that. Like, if you all come, then you might kill him. He was like, yes. Yes, we just might. Ah, that means we can. At least you think we can.
Well, then again, you just think that the pixies are stupid, right?
Yeah. It's still a good little ego boost. Everything's kind of pushing in that direction. So.
Right. Every little bit helps. You just need to selectively take all of the evidence which suggests that I can do this. Speaking of which, anything else for Ersilia?
Huh?
We were like building the case for why Ersilia is the big bad, right?
Oh, yeah. Why? Well, she's really ominous. You know, it's kind of like when you see like the guy in like you play Dragon Age, and there's this guy you meet like, yes, my king, I will do exactly what you told me to. You're like, yeah, he's gonna betray you. Look at him. He's got like black,
just fucking
black
gut him right
under
now.
his eyes. It's like oozing even big black spiked armor. Yeah, he's good. He's a good guy. You know, it kind of has a little bit of that factor.
Look, she's beautiful, man. She's not ominous or creepy looking.
No. But women who are like really beautiful and like noble and like wear like red and you know, are kind of like living beyond their age. That's kind of like the classical like Cruella de Vil kind of. You know, it's like this potion is really made from like the liquefied remains of babies. Yeah. Like, oh well, that's lovely. Gives some beautiful skin. Like, oh yes.
Was it really worth the +2 intelligence, Dwohurim? You know.
Well, it was already made.
Can't just put it to waste. The
Someone's
babies have
gotta
already been
drink it.
liquefied.
Might as well be me. Just don't make more of it. Like the adventure, I'm putting out like the nymph skin armor.
Oh yes. Mm.
Yeah, but she has a little bit of that factor going on for her, like
I can understand that.
creepy witch lady person who you can't trust. Even when she says you can, you can't.
Well, of course you can't trust her.
Nobody can. That's the point. But she seems genuine. And to be honest, it would be amazing if she had, like, it seems like such a coincidence everything that's happened, that's really speaking against her being the mastermind of this whole thing. Because it doesn't seem like there's so many coincidences that have to line up for this thing to happen. Like, if she really wanted war, I'm sure she could get it. Really, from just attacking. To some degree.
You're thinking that if she wanted to have, like, this grand, like, destruction fest, there'd be so many better ways. Like one of, like, the ghouls or gas could have just been, like, leaked out and spread among the populace, and then, like, an entire invasion of ghouls could come after her.
Well, she would want to blame it on the druid somehow.
Ah. Why does that matter?
Well, if she wanted the war between the druids and the Empire to weaken both of them, so that the Lich King could rise again, or whatever. Right, that was the sort of
That's
the current.
That's the primary theory. A war between the Empire and the Wildwood, the High Druid, results in the Lich King or any other villainous icon having an opportunity.
Which it would. Pretty objectively speaking. As long as the druid remains an ally to the Empire, blah blah blah, you know?
Yes, from the book itself.
Mm-hmm. It was like the big don't make this happens. Although I guess my fellow party members certainly aren't very committed to the as long as proper funeral rites and stuff.
I love how Dark said that he's gonna fucking make a note of that as a player so that he remembers to do that.
Yeah, I was gonna be like, oh, but we killed them. Oh, we have to take like 6 hours to bury them all. Like made little wooden crosses and stuff. Like, we just not. We have to.
We're on a bit of a deadline.
It was better before, guys.
I regret kind of bringing this up now.
So why do you in-game care now? You just forgot. You forgot. Forgot about the Lich King, huh? Alright, fine, sure. Yeah, very occupied with these bandits, I take it.
Well, then for all the coincidences that you say for Ersilia, do you have any better evidence for Bree or for anyone else?
If Ersilia is not...
Yes, if Ersilia is not the big bad.
In line with the Lich King, then it seems that Bree is sort of the next to go-to person, as she would then have a motive for actually pursuing... Like, if she wants to have any sort of influence ever, she'll have to get rid of Ersilia. And she doesn't think she can do it alone. And she most likely cannot. She's been surrounded by all these books of like necromancy and stuff like that. And I do believe that the Lich King is involved somehow. Because it doesn't seem like Bree would then... Like, she wouldn't really... None of what's happened has really been conducive to killing Ersilia. Or even, like, discrediting or defeating her. Like, she could hope to plant evidence, like, trying to murder us and stuff like that, to make, like, us go for Ersilia, but I don't think we could take her. And I don't think she would be dumb enough to think that we could take her. Most likely, that is simply because a member of that family was out to take care of one of our undead hunting people. I think that seems like a pretty decent suggestion. And if it wasn't Ersilia, then it seems to be Bree. I mean, it certainly wasn't a kid, right? So, yeah. So if she has done that, then that means that she's been reading over Ersilia's back. It means that she knew how to get down into the crypt and burn the books without having to deal with the undead, which is much more likely than the Ravinger having anything to do with it, really. To some degree. Because, I mean, he certainly wasn't there, it seems. Then that basically means that Bree is playing like a sheep, right? To not be targeted by anything. Which, I mean, I think almost that's the line I'm looking to, like, what I'm tempted to think. The Ravinger would know what she's doing, kinda. And then again, Honestly, he might just have been backsided and think that it's Ersilia he's working for. I don't know that he's ever seen her or Bree. Well, probably one of them, but one could easily say that she's the other one if he hasn't ever seen the other one to confirm. It doesn't seem like he's from here, locally. So, Bree would like to start this war in exchange for that, gain the power to take over the family, perhaps, or to kill Ersilia, or maybe just sort of leave to become something on her own making or her own power. It just seems weird that she would have she has a husband and everything, right?
She doesn't have a husband.
Oh.
You'll recall that Alex asked whether Leon could be her daddy.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, asking about that, has she had one?
Like, who would you ask? I suppose you'd ask the townsfolk.
Yeah, Bjorny, for that matter.
Bjorny would say,
Well, she doesn't have a husband. Her child was born 4 years ago out of... Well, it's a bit of a hushed story. There's lots of rumors about who the father could be, but as far as it's been suggested officially by Alex, she's never talked, or rather by Bree, she's never talked about it. The child just sprung up 4 years ago. Imagine it's one of those noble affairs, trying to keep things quiet. Someone left her and there's sore feelings over it.
How much did the child look like Bree?
fairly like her. The same sort of eyes, same facial look. Then again, Dwohurim did not really look or pay attention to the fucking kid.
No. Why would she... There's not really any way which she could know.
What could she know or not know?
Yes. What
Well,
about Bree? She could have a kid for any number of reasons. But I can't confirm or deny any of them.
Right.
I really don't really have data about her, because she's been good at hiding herself. Or she has not, and has nothing to do with anything.
You've only seen her for a bit of one session.
Yeah.
And, the party hasn't done a whole lot of information gathering. In part because you haven't taken that much time as players to do that.
Uh-huh. It's going to be interesting to see what Ersilia votes for in the whole... Although she can't, of course... No, even if she was bad, she would still be voting in accordance with the evidence, because if not, she would give away that she was bad. Sadly, we have no one whom these people seem to hate, whom we can use to draw them out. Whoever the bad guy is here.
Well, plenty of people dislike Salvatore, the other senators, as you've recently learned. Ersilia, by all accounts, and Bjorny would tell you himself, there is not a person who would... It's both a combination of respect, because Ersilia has done so much for the town. They've given her the first citizen of Foghaven title, because this land used to be hers. And there are fears. There are rumors that she is a necromancer, and that... if you dare oppose her, she will strike you down. No one has, any, actual, factual stories of this is what Ersilia did, but it's just, a peasant fear.
So, what exactly has she done for the town?
Well, in addition to, as noted, Bjorny would say that, she used to own all of this land.
Mm-hmm. He knows that story.
So many years ago, 2 centuries ago, she owned all of this. The manor is hers, and, whenever, like, so many settlers came down, they were radiating out from Newport to, like, find places to live. Some merchants and some people bought the land, and then she donated quite a bit of it as well. It's by this point, it's kind of like history now, seeing as how it happened roughly 2 centuries ago. But, the story goes that she didn't have a need for all of it. She had already made her fortune, and that she wanted to see a growing community right there. Civilization to stare at the face of the High Druid and spite it. Right there along the coast in front of the Wild Wood. And so many years ago, before she became such a recluse, she devoted herself tirelessly to devising the laws and the governmental structure, and in assuring that everything from the caravans to the caravels, the ships arriving for trade, to everything else ran smoothly within the town. That's how the stories go. There's really no one alive in the town who can remember what life was like 120 years ago, but by all accounts, from word of mouth, Ersilia has a very positive reputation based on what it is said that she once did, and it's only been within the past several decades that she's become increasingly withdrawn. She became a recluse, she stopped taking so much activity. She's had a number of family members who would serve as go-betweens. Obviously, such a prominent noble as herself has a number of other Melchors out there in the world. It's currently Bree Melchor, who acts as the acting head of Melchor Estate, as well as is allowed to actually go into the senatorial meetings and speak on behalf of Ersilia. Normally, for any other person, that would not be the case. The people would just elect another senator. But because it's Ersilia Melchor, the people just aren't willing to depose her. They want her to keep that title until her death.
So it would have to be a really damn long-term plan.
Yes, Bree is in her... Bjorni's not exactly sure. Late 20s, early 30s. She's been the head of the household since before Bjorni got here. So it's been for longer than 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Which is also Carmilla Cabot only got here roughly about the same time that Bjorni did, because Bjorni and Carmilla used to travel together.
Yeah. Curious.
And for as long as he's been here, Bree has been the acting head of Melchor Estate, and she's been the one who appears at senatorial meetings, except for emergency situations, or except for galas or festival events, where Ersilia will actually make a rare public appearance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I might have to go to bed now, but I certainly might come back with more questions tomorrow or during the weekend.
Sure.